Hey guys, Sean here. Today I'll be profiling my Rikka Sunavalon deck. As we all know, Rikka Sunavalon got hit by the banlist pretty hard. We're down to one Dryas and one Healer. That won't stop us though, we can still combo off. We still have basically the same one card combo. This version here is going to hold us off until we get the new support from Fat Nightmare. So without further ado, let's get into it. To begin here, the usual triple Sunseed Genius Loci. Thankfully they didn't hit this in the banlist. So obviously your main one card combo. Your one card combo for your Sunavalon engine is still pretty much the same. It's a little bit different, but it basically ends on the exact same board. So of course we're still running 3 copies. It's your main way of going into your Sunavalon engine, which is much smaller now, but of course we still have to use it. Unfortunately, we're still stuck with this dude here, Sunseed Twin. It special summons your Loci from the grave if you have a Sunavalon Link monster on the field, and also you can banish it from the graveyard along with a Link monster to special summon a Link monster from the graveyard. Very important now with the new build, so definitely just keep it at 1. Onto the Rikkas now. We have double Rikka Petal, your main searcher for your Rikka side of the engine. During your main phase, you can search for any one of your Rikka monsters, and then during your opponent's end phase, if you control no monsters or only plant monsters, you can special summon it. So it's great because it always comes back. It gives you good follow-up potential. Just keep in mind that it locks you into plants when you use it. You can run 3 copies, but 2 is enough because we want to keep this deck around 45 cards. Next up, triple of your Rikka Princess. So you can basically special summon it from your hand for free. It's level 4, so it helps you going into your XZs. And when your opponent activates monster effect, you can negate it by tribling one of your plant monsters. And if you have Rikka Konkon on field, you can tribute your opponent's monster for cost, shuffle this into the deck, and then negate the monster's effect. Then we have 1 copy of Primula. When you tribute one of your own monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. It's level 4, so it's the main way you go into your Rikka Strenna. And the main combo to go into that is you use your Glamour, you tribute a monster, search for a Rikka Princess and your Primula. Then that triggers your Primula to special summon it. You special summon your Rikka Princess, and then you overlay into your Strenna. So 1 copy is all we need. Next up, we have 2 Mudan. You can tribute one of your plant monsters to special summon it. But with Konkon on the field, you can tribute one of your opponent's monsters to special summon it. When it's normally special summoned, you can add one of your Rikka spell or traps from your deck to your hand. So most of the time we search our Rikka Konkon, but if you already have that, you're going to search either your Glamour or your Sheet. So 2 copies is all we need. Next up, 1 copy of your Snowdrop. You can tribute one of your plant monsters or one of your opponent's monsters if you control Konkon to special summon itself, and then one of your plants from your hand. And then while it's on the field, you can target one of your plant monsters, and then all plant monsters you control become that level. So it's an easy way to go into any one of your XZs. You can target itself to go into your Teardrop. You can target a level 4 to go into your Strenna. So definitely a great card to have at 1. That's it for the Rikka engine. Now we have the small Therion engine. So we have 2 copies of Lily Borea, and then we have 1 Therion King Regulus. Lily Borea lets you target a plant in your grave to special summon it, and then you equip the plant monster from your grave to it. Then you can send 1 card from your hand or field to the grave in order to add your Therion field spell from your deck to your hand. That will allow you to search for your Regulus, which lets you target a machine or a Therion card in your grave to special summon it, and this just gives you an Omni Negate. Just keep in mind that Regulus is a machine, so sometimes you'll be locked into plants, but regardless, Lily Borea is a great extender, even if you don't have access to your Regulus. Next up, 1 copy of your Lonefire Blossom. It is basically a bridge between your Sunavalon and your Rikka engines. You tribute it to special summon any plant from your deck. You can run more if you want, but 1 copy is good enough because you can summon it off of your Jasmine, and then you can branch off into whatever card you need. Next up, a new card for the deck, we have Aromage Laurel. So while your life points are higher than your opponent's, you can special summon it from your hand, and once it's sent to grave, you can gain 500 life points. So the main new combo is that you'll summon this, then you'll link it off into Jasmine. This will trigger in the grave, giving you 500 life points, and then it will trigger your Jasmine to search any plant monster. For the final monsters here, we have a few hand traps. We have triple Ash Blossom, of course, best hand trap in the game. Triple Droll, because we're going to enter a Droll format. Triple DD Crow, because it's great against Labyrinths and plenty of other decks like Pearly. So this set of 3 hand traps are pretty good. Obviously you can switch it out depending on the format, depending on what decks you think you're going to come up against, but I think this little ratio here is pretty good. Onto the spells now, we have triple Unexpected Die, special summon a normal monster from your deck, which is always going to be your Sunseed Genius Loci. 1 card combo without using your normal summon, definitely run out of tree. Next up, 2 copies of Sunvine Sowing. Lets you special summon a Loci or a Sunseed monster from your deck for the cost of 1000 life points. And it also protects your link monsters in the grave by banishing itself. 2 copies is a little less necessary now because Dryas is at 1. However, it's nice to have for follow-up, so 2 copies is pretty good. Onto the Rikka spell traps now. 3 copies of Rikka Glamour. Searches you any Rikka monster, but you can tribute a plant you control for cost to search a Rikka monster, and then a plant monster with the same level as the Rikka you search. In combination with your Konkon, this becomes a Rota and a way to get rid of your opponent's monsters. Next up, 3 copies of Rikka Konkon, probably the best card in the deck. While this card's on the field, when you activate a Rikka card, you can tribute your opponent's monsters as cost instead of your own. So this basically turns all your Rikka cards into destruction cards as well, because they get rid of your opponent's monsters. It's also a soft once per turn, so if you have multiple copies of this, and then multiple Rikka effects that tribute, you can clear your opponent's board that way. Also, while you control a Rikka monster, you can set a Rikka spell trap from your deck. So this can get you your Rikka Glamour, or it can set your Rikka Sheet. Some people run 2, I think that's fair enough, but 3 copies is nice because you always want to see it. If you see it in your opening hand, the better, because you don't have to search it. So I think 3 is pretty good. Another field spell here, we have Therion Discolosseum. It searches any Therion monster, so it can get you into your Lily Borea if you want an extender, or it can get you into your Regulus if you want to negate. Next up, a copy of 1-for-1. You pitch a card from your hand, and you can special summon either your Sunseed Genius Loci, your Rikka Petal, or even your Laurel if you need it. 1 called by the grave because this deck dies to hand traps. And for the traps, we have 1 Rikka Sheet. For cost, you can tribute a plant monster or with Konkon on the field one of your opponent's monsters to take control of one of your opponent's monsters. So best case scenario, you're wiping one of your opponent's cards off the field to take control of another one. So definitely a great card to have at 1. And for the final main deck hand traps, we have triple Imperm, just because it's a great hand trap. Great for going first or second, can't go wrong. That's it for the main deck now. We'll go into the extra deck now. We have 1 copy of Sunavalon Dryas and 1 copy of Sunvine Healer. Sadly, they've both been limited to 1, but it doesn't hurt the deck too bad. What Dryas does is if it's link summoned using Loci, you can add a Sunvine spell trap from your deck to your hand, so you're going to be adding your Sunvine Sowing. Also, if you take battle or effect damage, you can gain that life points back, and then special summon a Sunvine monster from your extra deck. In combination with your Sowing, which deals damage to you, you can gain that life points back, and then special summon another monster from your extra deck, which will usually be your Sunvine Healer, which when it is special summoned, you can target any Sunavalon monster you control, and gain 300 life points times its link rating. Gaining life points is very important in this deck because of your Jasmine, it's your main way of searching cards, so having 1 copy of each, it does hurt, but it's not too bad. Next up we have Sunvine Thrasher, and then 2 copies of Sunavalon Melias. Thrasher is good for getting OTKs, so when Thrasher is special summoned, you can target one of your Sunavalon link monsters, and it gains 800 attack equal to its link rating, so most of the time you're going to target your Melias, gain 2400 attack, be at 3200. What your Melias allows you to do is target a Sunvine monster you control, and it can make attacks up to the number of Sunavalon link monsters you have in the field. So most of the time he's going to gain 2 attacks, so he'll be able to go 32 twice. Also, when Thrasher attacks, if it destroys a monster, you can special summon that monster from your opponent's grave, so that can help you going for OTKs. What Melias does is when it's link summoned, you can target a Loci in your graveyard and special summon it, so great for link climbing, and it's also not once per turn. Your new build runs 2 because of your new combo. Maybe when a new support comes out you can put it back down to 1, but for now this ratio is pretty good. Next up we have 3 copies of Aromaseraphy Jasmine. Pretend I have the 3rd copy because it's not too important in this build, but coming up it will be pretty much mandatory to run out of 3. What Jasmine does is it needs 2 plant monsters to summon it. You can tribute a monster it points to special summon any plant from your deck, and then when you gain life points, you can add any plant from your deck to your hand. That effect is a soft once per turn, so the more Jasmines you have on field, the more searches you can get. Definitely a broken card. Thankfully Konami didn't hit this, because if they hit this, this deck would definitely be dead. So 3 copies of Jasmine, definitely good to have. You can run 2 for now, but once the new support comes out, we're definitely bumping this up to 3. 1 copy of Sylvan Dancepione. When it's link summoned, you can choose a number from 1 to 3, excavate that many cards from the top of your deck, and special summon up to 2 plant monsters you excavate, and then send the rest to the grave. This is really good to extend. You need to get a little bit lucky, but sometimes if you have no other plays, going into this can help win you the match. Also, you can target a plant monster in your graveyard, and then monsters it points to become that level, so it's also very important for going into cards like your Strenna or your Teardrop. So definitely 1 copy is pretty good. Even if you're not going to use the first effect, the second effect is very handy for your combos. For For the final link here, we have one Benghalancer. During the main phase quick effect, you can target one monster your opponent controls. You take damage equal to its attack, and then you return it to the hand. Also, when it's in the grave, you can banish link monsters from your graveyard equal to his link rating, and then special summon them back. Definitely a very good link boss monster that this deck has. Onto the XZs now. Double Rikka Queen Strenna. So rank 4, you can detach a material from this to add a plant monster or a Rikka card from your grave to your hand, and then when it's tributed, you can special summon a plant XZs from your extra deck and then use this as material. So part of your main combo, you're going to be getting something back from your graveyard, and then you're going to be going into an XZs from your extra deck. The two main XZs you're going to be going into is Sacred Tree Beast Hyperyton and your Teardrop. Hyperyton is a negate depending on what material it has. When you use Strenna to summon it, you'll automatically have a monster negate, but once you activate a spell, trap, or monster effect, you can activate Hyperyton to attach that same type of card from your graveyard to it as material. So usually you'll be able to get this with a monster and a spell negate, which is very handy because this deck struggles dealing with spell cards. Teardrop is rank 8, which we can go into very easily. Quick effect, you can target one of your opponent's monsters and tribute it. This is not a tribute for cost, which is very important to know, but is good disruption. A lot of monsters still can't avoid being tributed, and also every time a card is tributed, Teardrop gains 200 attack until the end of the turn. So we can get pretty big and it can help you swing for game. And finally, we have an extra slot here, so there's a lot of different cards you can put in here. For now, I like to run ZEUS because ZEUS is very good. It's a card that we couldn't run before because the extra deck space was so tight, but because we run so many XZs, running a ZEUS is pretty good. Helps you going second to clear the board. Rikkas struggle a bit going second, so it's a good card to have. It's a bit tricky to use because you can lock yourself in the plant so easily, but there's plenty of ways to play around it. And if you're going second, you can go into ZEUS, wipe the board, and then continue with your combo. So one ZEUS, pretty good. You can also run Typhon if you want to, but I think ZEUS is better in most situations, so it's a good option for the deck. So for a side deck now, pretty generic stuff. 3 Dark Ruler for breaking boards, in combination with 3 Evenly Matched. As I said before, the deck struggles going second, so this little side deck package here never hurts. Also for going second, we have Double Nibiru. It's a hand trap I don't like running in the main just because you're not always going up against a combo deck, and even if you use this, sometimes having a monster on the field is bad because it doesn't let you use your unexpected die. It also will prevent you from getting back your Rikka Petal in the end phase, but I think 2 on the side is pretty good for certain matchups. Also for going second, newly brought to 2 Pankratops, very good for going second. You can special summon this, tribute it, pop a card your opponent controls, and then you can still activate cards like your Petal in the graveyard or your unexpected die. For back row removal, I run the standard package of double Lightning Storm and a Harpies. I don't run any back row removal in the main deck. It's better for siding because you're not always going to go up against a deck like Labyrinths, but you definitely need this in the side deck because Rikkas really struggle with back row, so this little package here is all we need. And for the final 2 cards, we have Naturia Rose Whip and Predaplant Spider Orchid. Rose Whip only lets your opponent activate 1 spell or trap per turn, so if you have this on field and your opponent activates a spell or trap, if you negate that with something like Regulus, that negates the effect, so your opponent won't be able to activate any more spell or traps for the rest of the turn. And then Spider Orchid, it's a pendulum monster, so if you put it in your pendulum zone, so during your main phase, you can pop a spell or trap on the field. This is activated in the pendulum zone, so you can pop something like Skill Drain or any Floodgate, or just any spell or trap on the field. These are both plant monsters, so very easy to search for or special summon, so these are 2 good tech options for the deck. You can also run Cactus Bouncer, which is a great option in itself, but I don't think it's too necessary for this build, but definitely put it in if you want to. So that's it for the new Rikka Sunavalon deck profile. So this deck is going to change in the coming months with the new Phantom Nightmare support. For the most part, this build is pretty solid, given the new ban list limiting Healer and Dryas. The deck can still do basically what I could do before, a little less consistent. The combos are a little bit different, so you do suffer a bit, but overall I think Rikkas are still a good deck in the meta. It'll take a little bit of time before they can compete at a high level, but for now I think this build is pretty good. So thanks for watching, let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any suggestions or ideas, let me know. And stay tuned for more Rikka content. Thanks for watching.